Gadget guy. He passed that on to my brother, who always enjoyed and appreciated any kind of gadgets. Growing up, there were some gadgets that we obtained that I thought were pretty cool. One of them was the first home computer you could have. If you guys remember, it was a TRS-80. No Windows, no mouse, I remember looking at it thinking, what do you do with this thing? You had a code to do something with it. My brother and my dad loved it, and I wasn't impressed at all. I wish later, after I grew up, that I would have appreciated my dad's knowledge more. I also remember we had the first microwave on the block in the neighborhood. First microwave oven. And I remember all the neighbors coming to see this cool thing, this cool microwave. Let's see. What?
You had to explain how it worked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he explained how the clock worked. Yes, exactly. I'm sure he did. And then another cool thing he did, I remember him having all of his equipment out, was he hijacked the airways for the first, I don't know if any of you remember the on TV, the cable television, pay per view or whatever. And I remember thinking, how do you hijack the airwaves to get that on there? Like, I didn't get that, but my dad figured it out, and he was quite proud of his accomplishment. The coolest gadget that we had was a hot tub that he built. And he actually bought all of the wood, built the hot tub out of redwood, had jets in it, electrical system, plumbing. He laid all that, built all of it, put it all together, built a big, beautiful deck around it. And that was something that our family and a lot of our friends enjoyed for a long time. My dad also had a handful of projects going all the time. If you were ever at their house, Lee was such a patient soul that, man, he just had little Wayne piles everywhere and things going on with his brain. And in the recent months, he had a bicycle and an electric motor that he bought. And he was working on getting that motor mounted to the bicycle and revising some of the features of the bicycle so he could ride it. Wow. And we knew he wasn't going to ride it. He was older. He had had his neck surgery. He wasn't. But he told me, he said, Julia, you always got to have a carrot in front of you. And so again, that was just another thing that I admired, that he just persevered and didn't give up. My husband talked about what a giver he was. And a lot of you have been recipients of that. He could be harsh. He would be the guy that was going to tell you like it is, but he also balanced that with the heart of gold that most people that knew him knew that. Let me see. And Lee was going to share this and she didn't because she was too nervous, but I'm going to share it with you. Lee and my dad married in 1982, and she tells a story of how they, on their first date, she was a secretary where they worked. And on their first date, she said the date went so bad that they shook hands at the end of the night. And I was like, I can't see my dad just being so formal, but I guess he was. But the good news is they didn't give up. He pursued her, and they were together for 5 years, and then in 1982 they got married, and like Jim said, they just had their 40th anniversary. And just in closing, I want to say my dad never set out to be rich or famous. He never set out to accomplish great things. In fact, as I shared earlier, he spent a great deal of his younger life thinking he wasn't even capable of much. However, I'm so thankful for the inspiration that he gave me, and I know he gave many others, by putting great effort and determination into accomplishing his own goals and dreams. He chose to live simply in raising his family, building his career, and enjoying life with family and friends. And in living simply, he truly did live greatly. Thank you.
I guess I'm up next. So I'm Eric, his stepson. I've got lots of stories. And my brain goes like this. So, it might start here and then I'll be over here and then back down here. So that's just the way my brain works. But anyways, I'm going to start with when they first started dating. I liked running my mom's boyfriends off. That was my favorite thing. Push their buttons until they're gone. Yeah, I didn't want them. I didn't want anybody else there. I just wanted mom, me and my brother. That's it. So I remember Wayne came over to our mobile home to help with our washer and dryer. Right? So he's under there sweating, having not a good time. And I come over with my little friend and I start pushing his buttons. I don't know what I said, but I was pushing him good because he comes up out of there with his fist and he, come here, you little motherfucker, I'm gonna kick your ass. Whoa, okay. I didn't chase him off, as you can tell. Gained instant respect because he knew how to deal with a little asshole. And that's what I was. Ask mom. My teenage years was, yeah. See that gray hair? Thank me. But anyways, so yeah, and from there on, we would, like Julia said, we would go over, it was like every Sunday, we would go over and have music. In the back room, we had a little room, it was a music room, and we would all play. And then when my kids came along, speaking of harmonicas, Trey, my oldest, we're coming home from the Ventura house on Gardner, and Wayne was nice enough to give him a harmonica. Trey was 3 years old, so he's in the car seat in the back. I mean, it went for 10 minutes from Ventura to Casita Springs. He was in and out, in and out, in. It was so funny, all of a sudden it went silent. We're like, what happened? Look back at Trey's like, he's drooling because he hyperventilated. He blew it so many times. We laughed very hard. So anyways, speaking of computers, later, I got some of those computers. The first one I had was the VIC-20. Anybody remember the VIC-20? It was actually a tape recorder with a keyboard that you hooked up to your TV. And the same thing, you had to program ones and zeros to make something come up on the screen. So it was pretty cool. And then I got the next one was the Commodore 64. Yeah. Now you guys remember that one?
Yeah.
It was a little more, and then I got the 286. So, and he kept handing it down to me. So now I'm in Ojai with my kids, and I think Seth was born now, and Trey was about 6 years old, and the 286 stopped working. Well, you remember the floppy disk you had to put in, that big floppy disk you put in like this? Well, so
about the size of...
Yeah, about the size of a book. But anyway, but very thin. But anyways, it stopped working. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So, Wayne came up we'd have barbecue. We'd switch off. Go to his house, he'd come to our house. So anyways, he came up and the computer was sitting on, right in the kitchen on a table. And he goes, well, let's take that apart. And I said, all right, we take it apart. He goes, we're looking for what we call the smoking gun. Okay, so he starts looking at the motherboard and he's looking, and then I look right where he put the disc in. The thing that comes up and spins, there was a penny on it. So one of the kids, Trey, Seth, I don't know, decided the slot where the disc goes is where the penny goes. So I put the disc in and it went right in, and it made it so, and the computers couldn't work without that disc, so, and I had formatted the hard drive, reformatted the hard drive, so we had to start from scratch. But I go, Wayne, is that the smoking gun? He goes, yep. So I was like, cool. So to this day, I embrace technology because of Wayne. I have no problem. Oh, computer. Oh, you need a wireless card in there. Okay, no problem. Take it apart. Hey, there's a slot. Put it in there. People are like, how do you know how to do that? I don't know. You just take it apart and you look and oh, there. Okay, good. I don't know, but that's what I learned from Wayne is just don't be afraid to take something apart and look at it, and if you can't figure it out, you can always put it back together, maybe. So Anyways, I'm gonna let more people share because I can go on for hours. I got lots of stories, but we're gonna bring Angie up. Are you prepared?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just gonna speak from the heart, and that's it. I didn't.
That's what I did.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, and yes, I didn't plan anything, but I couldn't miss being here. I know that you guys were a huge family to Wayne, and that you meant a lot to him, so I'm so happy to meet all of you today. So, just like Jim said, I was his only daughter-in-law, and I was Willie Weir's wife. We were together for 26 years, and I really think that that man was so amazing. He was so kind to me, and one of the things that I've been telling my friends is that, you know, God works in such mysterious ways. You know, I think he gave my husband grace. My husband died before he did. I don't think he would have been able to handle the passing of his dad, you know, because his dad was his hero, you know, so his passion for learning got it from dad. You know, the gadgets, endless gadgets all over the place. I mean, at his funeral service, I had all the gadgets lined up. And it was kind of funny, but, you know, he had this, like, great desire to learn, and sometimes, similar to what Julie was describing, I would ask him a question, and he would say, "How much do you want to know?" Oh my gosh, thank you for saving me with that. You know, at least he saved me from that. I remember amongst the first times going to visit Wayne and Lee, and being very impressed on how smart he was. And so he and Willie would just go on and on about these highly intellectual, technical topics, you know, and I'd be like, I have no clue what they're talking about. And then I'd look at Lee and I'd be thinking, I'm the dumbbell here. I have no clue what they're talking about. And I'd be thinking, Lee's totally keeping up with the conversation, right? And one day, I had the courage to be vulnerable, and I asked Lee, "Do you know what they're talking about?" She's like, "I have no clue. You want to play cards?" I'm like, thank you. Oh my gosh. You know, she saved me from thinking that I had something wrong with me. But they could just go on and on for hours, and Willie just loved his dad. You know, like I said, he was like the best father-in-law ever, and I'm gonna miss him. And I know that Willie is in heaven, receiving him with open arms. And thank you for creating a home for him. You know, I really appreciate all the love and support that you give to Lee. You know, she's so far away from us, and you know, I know that you guys are all family to her, and you know, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And Julie's going to come back up, and she's going to read the poem that is,
Well, it's not a poem.
or the, it's on the,
No, I'm going to do something else.
oh, she's doing something else.
I already read that. My aunt sent something that I wanted to read to you. My dad's brother passed away quite a while ago, and my dad has two sisters that are still living in Florida, and one of them sent me something that I wanted to share with you. She said, "Wayne Weir, my big brother, will be missed. Wayne was kind, adventurous, inquisitive, curious, and generous, sometimes to a fault, and as a big brother, as mean as they come." Wayne was 9 years older than me, just enough for me to be a big pain in the butt. As far back as I can remember, he was always trying to figure stuff out, from teaching himself to play the guitar, making a pattern out of newspaper, and making the ugliest red vest I'd ever seen, to tinkering with radios and such, always wondering. In 1951, Wayne was 14 and I was 5. Our sister Thelma was getting married, and Wayne was really looking forward to the wedding reception. Why? An open bar. He was all excited until I came down with the chicken pox. That's when when both of our miseries began. Wayne had to babysit, and for the next few hours, in addition to feeling like crap, I was subjected to threats for ruining his big plans. A fist in the face, threatening me within an inch of my life, and hearing words I had never heard before. These are stories I've never heard, and I'm like, this is my dad to a T. That same year, Wayne tried his hand in dentistry. I was his patient. While our parents were at the doctor, Wayne tied a string to the doorknob with the other end destined for my tooth. Don't do it. A blunt forced object put an end to his plan. That blunt object was my mom's high heel. And he always told the story about his mom hitting him in the head, but I never knew this was what went with it. In the end, I was the one that got in trouble. I guess it was the trickle of blood running down his face that made my mom forget who started it. Of course, as we grew older, we grew closer. When I was pregnant, I stayed with Wayne and his family in Ventura for several months in 1968. Every time we went back to visit, our sightseeing trips were always Wayne's treat. Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, and let's not forget walking across the border to get to Tijuana, which is not a big deal for us Californians, but from Detroit, I'm sure that was a culture shock. Everything wasn't touristy. Going to the beach, which I'm pretty sure wasn't his favorite. Camping in Pine Mountain Campground, as if the drive up there in the van with no seats in the back on a partially washed out road wasn't bad enough. We're camping without a tent. Say what? No tent? My aunt's idea of camping, I'm sure, is a hotel. I think monsters roam in the dark of night out there. I thought that was scary until we took a nighttime motorcycle ride from Ventura to Ojai. Now that was scary and dark, very dark. Wayne exposed me to things I never wanted to experience again. In the early 70s, my daughter Stephanie and I were catching a flight from LA to Detroit. Somewhere in the parking lot, Stephanie lost her Shamu stuffed animal, and boy oh boy did the tears ever flow. Uncle Wayne to the rescue though. He scoured the parking lot and found an unharmed Shamu. For that, he earned a huge smile and a big kiss from Stephanie. And from me too. That would have been a long, teary-eyed, runny-nosed flight home. On another occasion, Stephanie flew from Michigan to California to visit a childhood friend. Uncle Wayne drove from Ventura to Chula Vista to take her out to dinner. Now that's what I call a good man. Oh, this could make me cry. Needless to say, I loved my brother dearly. Wayne never missed calling to wish me a happy birthday. Although we didn't see each other too often, we had lengthy phone conversations about nothing. I will surely miss those. I love you, Wayne. You're forever in my heart.
All right, very nice, very nice. Yeah, got me too. Going back to music and camping, something that we embraced, my family embraced. We were always up here, either in Woodford Heights, camping, or kids got to stay in the camper, and it was a lot of fun. But one time we went to Camp Shidak. Anybody know where that's at? Camp Shidak, out in the middle of nowhere. There's a bar there.
Yeah.
And there's actually a little community cabins that you can buy that has a creek running behind it. Well, then there's a campground across the creek. Well, one time we went up there with the whole family and everything, and the kids were old enough, they stayed at the campground, and we went down to the bar because on the weekend they would have live music. And there was somebody playing there named Teresa Russell, and she's a really good blues guitarist, and she has the whole computer, backup band. She was just really, really good. And Wayne always had his harps with him. He would bring that harmonica, and he would have every key. He'd have it with him. And I don't know what you'd call him, my wife's cousin husband went up and asked Teresa, hey, can Wayne play with you? He's really good on the blues harp. And Teresa's like, okay, you know, she had another mic, and she kept the mic down because she didn't know him, you know, so she kept the mic down real low. And as soon as she found out he was very talented, she turned his mic up and they played for